Nicholas County Board of Education, December 2nd, 2024. And at this time, please stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please join the board pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands with the nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, approval of the agenda.
I have nothing new to add.
Okay. Number 4, approve the minutes of the meetings held on November 18th, November 19th, which was Birch River and Zila, and November 20th, which was Glade Creek, Summersville Elementary, and Summersville Middle School. Any corrections on any of those? If there's no corrections, do we have a minute to approve those meetings? Minutes of those meetings.
I so move.
Mr. Moose makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion unanimous. Student representative Alexis Keffer and Jolena Miller.
They must not have made it. They may come at 5 o'clock.
Well, if they come, we'll squeeze them in.
Squeeze them in.
Okay, superintendent's information updates. Mr. Beam.
Just a couple items to talk about a little bit. Every October, we get what's called comps. And what those are is those are the numbers that the State Department provides to us based on the student enrollment of our schools, because the number of students we have determines how much money we get to run our school system. So we got those numbers together, and just want to give you an idea of where we are with those numbers. We are 22.63 professional positions over the state aid formula. 1.32 student support services. That would include like nurses, counselors, social workers. That's what that number is. 23.76 service employees over, which totals 47.71 positions. I provided the board a copy of the breakdown on this, but the bottom line is that 47.71 positions that are above the state aid formula amounts to $3,774,722.59 a year that we have to compensate for. I wanted the board to be aware of that as we go through the rest of the school year, and especially when we get into budget season next year. Those are the numbers we have to deal with. And like I say, those numbers are based on the October enrollment. And if we would get 100 kids move to our community now, it would not matter, because those numbers only count until October. So I wanted to share that with the board. Second of all, at Cherry River, as you know, we did move those kids from Cherry River to Panther Creek for a variety of reasons, which have already been discussed. Just want to give you an update. They have started working in that section of the building where those students were at that time. Just before Thanksgiving, they had started working on the library, and the hallway from the library starts taking those ceilings down and starting to put new ceilings up. So they have started working there. And the last thing on my list, and then we've got a recognition here to do. Just want to talk a little bit about how we determine 3-hour delays and those kind of things. Snow days are a little different because it's usually a lot more complicated, but with delays, when it comes to temperature, kind of the the benchmark that I use, I've always used, I've been doing this for a long time now, is when it gets below 10 degrees in the mornings or the wind chill's below 10 degrees, we usually do a delay. We don't want the kids standing out there waiting for buses at that time of the morning with it being that cold. On the other hand, we also look at roads. We had a little bit of snow over the weekend and the main roads were clear. I came to Summersville on Sunday afternoon, roads were just wet and people was driving 90 miles an hour. But the side roads, 65% of our kids live on side roads. And so we have to take into consideration when we do delays, if those side roads have been treated or scraped or both or neither. And that's sometimes, people say, why in the world did you call a delay or why didn't you call a delay? Well, those are some of the things we look at. And Mr. Stump and I talk usually about 4 o'clock in the morning on where we are with that. If we do make a delay, it does give us a couple more hours to decide whether or not we can, have school safely or not. So there's a lot goes into those kind of decisions, but that number, especially with temperature, about 10 degrees is kind of what we base it on, because you can't do delays every day. I mean, you've got, it's going to be cold. It could be cold now till end of February or March, and you can't do delays every single day when it gets cold. When it gets below 10, that's a little different animal. You got to have kind of a benchmark to go with, and that's kind of what we use. Wind chill around in Nicholas County especially is usually a bigger consideration because we do get a lot of wind and that does bring the temperature down. But those are the only things that I have. But I do want to do a recognition. When I was in Pocahontas County, one of the things that we did was I went to see the art department one day and I said, I knew we had a lot of talented artists in our county, in Pocahontas County with our students. Really good art program over there. And the board office was kind of drab. Used to be an old moose lodge, actually. We turned it into a board office. And I said, we need to spruce it up a little bit. So we had our students draw paintings of certain locations in Pocahontas County, for instance, Droop Mountain or Cass or those different kind of areas, Greenbank. And the kids did those. They put them on really nice backgrounds and they hung them in the board office. Well, when I came here last year, I wanted to do the same thing. So I went to the art people. I told them what we wanted to do. And if you all walked through the hallways, you probably saw some of those things posted outside. We've done some of those already. We have another one tonight. And so at this time, I'd like to ask Kenzie Mullins to come up. We want her to present this to the board. I want the board to go out front like we usually do for a picture of Kenzie. Obviously, a very talented artist. Real proud of this. Of course, you want to tell the audience, I'll let you talk. I talk too much. Tell them all about the painting.
Took me a while to finish. I finished it in the summer, but I decided to redo the water. It look a little better.
I thought that's what really kind of stood out with the shadows of the rocks and the trees below. You did a really good job. I'm real proud of you. Would you hold this, please, so we can get a picture? Let me get over it. Yeah, kind of balance out this side.
Your neighbor.
I'll let you go first. Go ahead. Okay.
Proud mom. Okay.
Hey.
We hope to continue doing this we continue to talk to our high school students about doing these little projects and it's something we wanted to be up here forever. So one of these days she can bring her little one up and say, look what I did when I was in school. You can do this too. So thank you, Kenzie. Let's see the next bit, okay? Oh, that's right. And Kenzie also, there is a fight going on as to who gets to hang it in their office. And if it ends up in an office, I promise you it's going to end up in mine. It'll probably be in the hallway. I'd say for everybody to see. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, action items. A, discussion with possible action on approving the proposed closure of Glade Creek Elementary School. So at this time, do we have any discussion on that? If not, do we have a motion? We're going to entertain these motions separately. Do we have a motion to close Lake Creek Elementary School?
So move.
Mr. Moose makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Green. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion unanimous. Action item B. Discussion with possible action on approving the proposed closure of Summersville Elementary School. Any discussion on that? If there's no discussion, do I have a motion?
So move.
Mr. Ferguson makes a motion to approve the proposed closure of Summersville Elementary. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moose. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion unanimous. Discussion with possible action on approving the proposed closure of Summersville Middle School. Do we have any discussion on that? If there's no discussion, do I have a motion for the proposal to close Summersville Middle School?
Make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Berry makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferguson. All, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Just for clarification purposes, this will go into effect upon the completion of the new pre-K-8 school.
Right. Okay, D is discussion with possible action on approving the proposed closure of Birch River. And so I wanted to address a few things. And some of these concerns were brought from Birch River folks and from Zila folks. And I do appreciate the fact that both communities were very passionate about keeping their schools. That's not, and you're very cordial. No one got nasty. And I think that goes a long ways. I do want to clarify a couple of things that were, we couldn't respond that night, but several of us took lots of notes. I was at Nettie and I was at Levacy when they closed Levacy grade school and made Panther Creek. And I understand, I do. I understand losing your school. And I understand they were passionate about it too. They had some of the same concerns, bus times, bigger class sizes. I want to say bigger class sizes, they don't always mean you have less education. Panther Creek was a very successful school. Mount Nebo and Mount Lookout have full classrooms and they're very successful schools. So I think I just wanted to point that out that, not always do bigger class sizes mean that your child's going to have less of an education. There was and I don't remember who said it, but they said that it was clear that the board had already made up their mind because that the levy call did not have money in there for Zila and Birch River. The levy call did not have money for any particular school. The levy call was one bunch of money this time. Normally, it's split out between every school. This time, it was not. And the reason it was done that way is because there might be a certain school that has to have a roof. And, $25,000 of levy money is not going to cover a roof. So anyway, every school was represented in the levy. I wanted to point that out. I also, and you all want to jump in anytime, but, it was said that the board office added personnel. The board office did not add personnel. Our assistant superintendent was not an added position. All she did was replace the personnel director that we had before. In fact, she's doing twice the job of the previous person. So that was not an added position. So she's doing two jobs. Amy McAllister, who serves as the ALC director and director of secondary education, replaced Melissa Hoover, who was the only at the ALC. Sarah Lawson replaced Kristen Eckel, who replaced Kevin Hess. No added position. Laura Jarrett took over many duties of Josie Groves. No added position. Mike Williams absorbed the duties of Tammy Gregory while retaining his prior duties. So he took on two jobs. So that's one less position. We did not replace Tracy Chenoweth's position. So that's two less positions. Nicole Workman is replacing Peggy Gregory with outposting Nicole's job. She's keeping her previous duties plus taking on Peggy's duties. So that's three less positions. Susan Amick was a receptionist at the front office, and we just did away with that. So that's four less positions. Christy Chapman replaced Lydia Young, and Laura Jarrett took on some of her duties. That's five less positions. So please don't say that the board office added positions when they did not. Okay? I know people tend to hear what they want to hear, but this board office is five positions less than when this current board was elected. Also, I want to commend my fellow board members because there were actually two of them that could have had a pay raise this year. The legislature voted to give the board members a pay raise, and they declined it. So, you know, all I want to say is that central office and all across the county, last year we cut 31 personnel and we were still short on the budget. We're losing kids to homeschool and to private school, Hope Scholarship. We're losing those kids. Well, the legislature, they tell you that that doesn't take money from public education. Oh, yes, it does. We get money for the kids we have. And so next year, we're already looking at a 3.7, almost $3.25 million. $3.25 million. So I don't know where people think we're going to get all this money. Another misconception. Somebody said we had 18 million in the coffers. You know, it's just like the beginning of the month when you get your check and you put it in the bank and you have, let's say you have $4,000 in the bank. That doesn't mean you have $4,000 to do whatever you want with. You know, there's certain things you got to pay out of that as the month goes. Well, that's the same way with the board's money. We actually have less than 9 million, and the state wants us to have so much on hand. So that's some of the things I wanted to clear up. When we went, board members have to go to board trainings. We have to have 12 hours a year. When we went to the board training, there were members from the legislature that told us, we don't have a teacher shortage. We have too many schools. That was from your state legislature. Then when we discuss about closing the school, we have somebody from the legislature that says, oh, don't close these schools. I mean, it's either one or the other. I don't know what they want us to do. When we hire a teacher, they base that on 25 students. 25 students in a bundle, whether we like it or not. When we've got these classrooms with having 5, 6, 7 kids, we're losing a lot of money. Now, Anybody else have any concerns?
I'd like to say a few things to kind of echo that before, is that all right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
You know, I've only been on the board 18 months. I come from private industry. I don't come from education. And it's really been an educational experience for me. And I've been consistent with what I've said all along. If I had a magic wand, there would be small schools in every community. Unfortunately, I don't have a magic wand, and evidently the state of West Virginia and the legislature do not believe in operating smaller schools. The state of West Virginia, I just echoes a little bit what Chip is saying. The state of West Virginia school aid formula is based upon 25 students per classroom. From a math standpoint, this cookie cutter approach, one size fits all, is counterproductive to the smaller school system. The state of West Virginia also has a formula to determine how many professional teachers. Like Chip said, we're over in that. We're looking at $3.7 million budget shortfall to figure that out. The state of West Virginia has passed legislation for school choice, subsidizing parents and students who choose to homeschool or enroll in private charter schools. Make it very clear, I'm big pro-choice. I think a parent should have a right to move their kid and educate their child any way they want. I've been consistent when at this board saying our public school system just needs to get better. Competition is good. However, those students coming out does affect the funding for the public school. And I think there's some unintentioned consequences there. There's several online schools popping up, and this creates a lot of competition for the public schools. I've always been a freedom of choice, just like I said, and I believe in movement. I believe in competition, and the public schools need to get better in educating our students. We want people to want, not to have to send their kids to public schools. The school aid formula has been adjusted to properly provide resources to account for the loss of enrollment. Has not been adjusted. They have not adjusted that based upon the loss of school because of charter schools. We do have trouble getting certified teachers, especially in the more rural areas. As Chip said, we were told directly that we don't have a teacher shortage, we just have too many schools. There's a little over 600 public schools, and we're not the only county going through this. The problem of basing on a school age formula of 25 students per classroom, it underfunds the classrooms that have 20 or less. And when you spread that over, like he's saying, so that just do that. But I want to let you see specifically, more specifically concerning the closure of Birch River and Zila. There was a few things that I did not agree with or took exception to, and I want to make that public because we weren't allowed to say anything. Accusing the board of just worrying about the money and not the students, nothing could be further from the truth. I've been on this board meeting 18 months, and there's not a session that go by. Yes, you got to be physically responsible to take this money and apply it. So that's sticking in my mind. Getting personal about the superintendent and assistant superintendent salaries. I took a little exception to that because I see how hard they work. And I did run some numbers, and other than some cost of living increases, the central office expenses, since I've been on board for 18 months, has not increased except for a small cost of living. We've actually cut people, but the state has incorporated some raises, which has affected that. Going backwards and comparing the present situation with the eastern part of the county and insinuating that our current board has biased and favors toward one end of the county, I take exception to that. It's just not true. The talking point that I am a registered voter in Nicholas County, I get that, but I kind of take that as a threat. We know everybody's, I'm just letting you know in my mind some of the things that I took exception to. But now I'll end here real quickly. I know I'm taking some time. But the things I thought were very good points that were brought up at the closures meetings that I learned a lot about. One was the physical conditions of the Summersville Elementary School, Zila and Birch River and Mount Nebo schools, the physical conditions of those schools, how they do now. The busing times that were listed were from, I think, were from school to Summersville School, from Birch River to Summersville School. And there was I learned that there's a lot of outlying areas that takes a lot of bus time to get to those schools. I thought that was a very good point. Revisiting the district lines of what students go to what schools. I thought that was a good point. I think it's something that maybe needs to happen. The number of students with IEPs in those certain schools, the individual educational plans, and what it takes in the smaller school environment, I thought were very, very good points. Here's some of the questions I constantly ponder, though. Is a larger school easier to keep the kids safe? Especially the newer schools being built at Glade. You'll have a patrol officer on site with more modern security systems. If a school closes, how important is its identity to the kids versus the parents? The kids go on to Summersville Middle and Nicholas County High School or Richwood Middle and Richwood High School anyway, so they lose that identity at that point in time. I'm not saying it's not important, but I just wonder if kids seem to adapt a little bit better than maybe the parents do. When I went to school, there was 8 or 9 schools in Richwood. I went to Milltown. It's no longer there, but I really don't refer to Milltown. I refer to Richwood High School, where I graduated from. Does it more numerous opportunities such as the arts, the music, the STEM classes in the larger schools that we can fund? Does it offset the smaller student to teacher ratio in the smaller schools? In other words, yes, maybe the smaller student ratio to the teachers is important. I'm not saying that's not. But by doing that, you're taking money to fund that, and you're taking it away where some of the schools can have arts and music in some of those schools. And so I ponder that, which makes more sense. Does larger school versus small school paradigm influence mental health and drug use, or is that really more of a social economic environment the student lives in and other factors? Is it the smaller school versus the larger school that impacts the mental health and the drug use, or is it more the fact of social economic throughout the state? One of the things I thought was good and that I'm pondering too is how can the Board of Education help the communities if we do leave the community with their buildings? And I was thinking, well, number one, we can give the building to the community. Number two, we can help in fundraising, get with the county commission, try to get grants. So I think there's some opportunity there working with the county commission. The bottom line with me is the Board of Education in every county cannot sustain the number of schools under the current funding system. It is inevitable that school closures and consolidations are going to continue throughout the state. And this is what I took most away from it. And I want you to hear what I have to say here. If the parents and guardians and the kids themselves would have the passion in participating in the education system as it exists today, as they do when discussing school closures, I believe everyone's chance of success would increase dramatically. And what I mean, I saw the passion, and I get it. But I also see the expulsion hearings that we're having. I see some of the problems we're having with some of the kids. And how many of you, the parents, and this is a rhetorical question, are going to the parent-teacher conferences, are checking the school, your kids' progress, are meeting with those teachers? There's a lot, what I've learned in my 18 months is there is a lot of resources available within the school system that a lot of people just don't know about. And I was one of them, and I've learned that. I think the help is there, but you got to ask for the help. And I have asked for the help on certain students that have come to my attention. The parents come to me, the student's not doing well, excess absenteeism. I've got the school system involved, and they will help. But they're more apt to help and teach if your kid or your child and your parent are involved and want to learn. They don't want to go in there and people and just waste their time if the people don't want to learn. So those are just some of the things that I contemplated in my mind, going back and forth of what to do that. And I think the busing times need to be relooked at too. And then the timing on certain things, but I'll end it there before we have any other discussion. But I kind of want to make those points based upon listening to you all.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you on one
Okay.
thing. And, because I was at Panther Creek when there was 400 students there. And anybody that had an IEP or a 504, those kids were taken care of. So
Well,
it doesn't matter.
yeah, you're not disagreeing. with me. My thought process is, does it matter?
Oh,
And you're telling me it doesn't.
so I've been
I'm
at
trying to struggle with
I
that.
was at Legacy, which had 72
Yep.
kids, and all those kids that needed help, they received the help. So I don't think that's a legitimate argument. Now, I agree with you all on two things. I agree that moving these kids 2 times is not a good idea. And I also agree that putting them in Summersville at this time is probably not the best idea because of the conditions. Okay? So is there any other discussion?
The only other thing I would say is please get involved as passionate as you are now before we take this vote with your state legislatures. Because you think the local authority is here at the board, which it is, but you got to follow the money. The money is at the state legislature and how they fund the schools. It's coming across the state, whether it's your school or some other school. Get involved with your kids, be very passionate about their education, and get involved with your legislature so that we can afford to make decisions based on something other than the money.
Mr. Berry?
I just, I want to express my opinion about moving students, and I think you mentioned that. I'm against that. I don't think students should be moved twice, even if you're going to consolidate everybody. It's not good for the schools they move into or the students that have to move. So, yeah, and I think at some point, the schools will consolidate. I don't know that time is right now. I think we need to see that when we get the building complete and ready to be moved into.
So I know you all thought you had me figured out. So any other discussion?
I was on that side through the Richwood, all the consolidation, and it hurts. It hurts your heart bad. I know what you're going through, and trust me, I've lost sleep over just this since this started coming out. It's not easy, no matter what. And I take it all to heart. I want the best for our kids. I don't care which side of county you're on. They're all my kids.
So at this time, any other discussion? Normally I don't do this, but I'm going to make this motion. And I know they're probably going to be shocked. But I'm going to make the motion based on moving the kids 2 times and the conditions at Summersville Elementary. I'm going to make the motion that at this time, we do not close Birch River Elementary. You second?
Yep.
Any other discussion?
Cherry River District votes with you.
Okay, so
That's Richwood, guys. We're all Nicholas County. So don't try to say that we're going to be favoring our end of the county. We're for everyone.
So at this time, do we have a, all in favor? I got it. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried unanimous. I will say, I think down the road sometime, it's unless we get more kids. The two things that I said, and this goes for Zila too. The two things is moving them twice, and we listened to you. You all said, not all of you, some of you said we'd already made up our mind, and we had not. We had not. And just by the way, I am from Richwood, but I've lived in Canvas for 25 years. So I'm, you know, I ran as a teacher, a retired teacher, because of kids. That's the only reason. So two things. We're going to have to get some of these people that are pulling their kids to homeschool and other places if we want to keep our schools open. And if not, eventually, I mean, the numbers get so small that we don't have any choice, just like down at Dixie, just like at Muddleby, just like at Levacy, Flagler Ridge, Kessler's Cross Lanes. The little schools in Richwood when I went to school, Richwood Grade School, Tannery, Milltown, Fenwick, New Hope, all these little schools. No one wanted to lose their schools. I'll quit talking. Do we have a motion? Or is there any other discussion on proposed closure of Zila? I think you already know how this is going to go, hopefully. Goes the same way.
You need a motion to that effect?
I'll let somebody else.
Go ahead.
I'll make that motion,
You'll make a motion to,
not to close Zila.
okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Berry. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Do we have any delegations? No delegations. Number 9, consent items, finance.
All I have this evening is payment of current invoices. Those should have been in your packet. So if you have any questions about any of those?
Just one question, page 3, winterizing football field, what's involved there? For $2,800?
That is the person who is in charge of doing all the work, the field in Richwood. I don't know necessarily what is involved in winterizing.
I know a little bit about that. So just like in the spring, when you put certain things on your lawn, treat it, it's the same thing in the fall. Okay. So it's a winterizer.
Yeah, we pay this, it's actually, it's got a company. We pay him all throughout the year for service to those fields.
Is that a yearly cost, once a year? Is it just once a year?
Well, we pay him several times a year, just for ongoing maintenance.
He's an honor.
Oh, yeah,
What do you call it?
but this.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Mr. Mason, I think it's about $12,000 a year.
It's
So
contract.
they come in different times of the season. And so that's just once the football season is over, he comes in, kind of one last time before winter hit. Treats it.
That's the only charges on that field. That covers all the charges unless some incidental thing happens.
Yeah, yes, it's good. Field was torn up or some kind of damage. For whatever reason. For the most part, that covers the cost of maintaining the field, the grass, and making sure it grows right and it doesn't become a muddy mess.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, do we have a motion to accept the consent items, finance payment of current invoices?
You have that motion?
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Moose. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Berry. He beat you by a tad there. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Personnel.
Good evening. It's as presented. I have no additions or changes. I would like to congratulate Marie Schaefer. She's retiring. And also Jean Morris is retiring. I'd like to offer congratulations to those two.
That's about as short as personnel list we've had for a long time.
Thank God.
Time of the year.
Do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda as presented? Mr. Green makes a motion, seconded by? Second by Mr. Ferguson. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Reports, SESC, Mr. Ferguson.
Nothing really to report. They had one meeting and their main focus now is they've contracted with Mrs. Harris, who used to work in the state education. If the county wants to take advantage, they're redoing all their policies and procedures. But then again, the county can elect to use their service or not, but that's kind of what they're working on right now.
Okay, Bright Horizons, Mr. Green.
Nothing right now.
Thank you. Items for future agendas or matters of the board. If there are none, our future meeting dates, we have an LSIC meeting tomorrow, December 3rd at Mount Nebo Elementary, beginning at 8:30 in the morning. And the purpose of that will be to hear LSIC reports from Mount Nebo, Birch River Elementary, Summersville Elementary, Mount Lookout Elementary, Summersville Middle School, and Zila. Then we will have a special work session on Monday, December 16th. The meeting will be held here at the board office at 2 p.m. The purpose of this work session is to discuss the CEFP amendment. Regular meeting, Monday, December 16th. The meeting will be held here at the board office. The purpose of this meeting will be to conduct routine business and student disciplinary hearings. And it's at 4:00. So normally at this time we would adjourn, but we have some disciplinary hearings for students starting at 6:00. So we will recess until 6:00.
Whenever parents show up with their kids.
Or if they show up early, we'll start early. Thank you all. Okay, let's reconvene our previous meeting, and at this time, we need to have an executive session to conduct disciplinary hearings. So I need a motion for that, please.
Make a motion.
Mr. Berry makes a motion, seconded by?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moose. All in favor? Aye. At 5:38. To come out of the executive session.
You have that motion.
Mr. Moose makes a motion, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye. At 8:00. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Was there any action taken?
No, I want to state on.
I'm sorry. So we expelled all 5 students for 365 days with reviews March 3rd. and one on February 25th, February 10th.
And one on 16.
One of them December 16th.
And one on December 16th. I'm tired.
December 16th, one.
I'm sorry, it's more out.
Rest on March 3rd.
Long day.
All
I'll figure out the details later. Okay.
right, I'm sorry. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Moose makes a motion to adjourn, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Berry. All in favor? Aye. At 8:01. 8:01.